Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well. All is fine and dandy here. Just a quick word, I want to try and get through this video today as quickly as possible. It's going to be like 34, 35 in London today, so absolutely scorching. And it's kind of inspired me to make this video actually, because it's one I've done a while ago, I should have made a while ago. And today we're exploring freshies. Now, not just, you know, lots of grapefruit kind of freshies, but really interesting freshies with a few, you know, twists and turns and some quirks to make beautiful fragrances. This is also a video that kind of brings me back to why me and Rich set up this channel, because we're going to be talking about 6 fragrances today that are just so under the radar, it's untrue. And the reason, you know, Questioning Sense was born basically was because me and Rich were getting frustrated with lots of other channels that weren't really talking about the fragrances that we wanted to find out about, or the fragrances that we love. So that's kind of why Questioning Sense was born. And in some respects, we're going back to our roots today by looking at these sort of under the radar alternative freshies. Okay, so as I say, we've got a lot to get through. None of these have appeared in any of my previous videos, so it's going to be all new stuff, hopefully to you. And these are all fragrances that I've really kind of fallen in love with. For various reasons too. So first off, we're going to talk about a German house, or a German Mallorcan house called Tesoro. Now I've got two, I own 2 from the house. One is called Herbes, or Herbs, and the other one is called Tesoro. Look at these beautiful bottles. They are gorgeous. This presentation on these is fantastic. They're really heavy, you know, baker-like caps. They're just, everything about them screams quality. Now, it's interesting how I found out about the house, because I have a subscription with a company called Hoohaa. Now, I have done a video on them before, and Hoohaa give you a choice of 3 different 10ml edits, which comes out every month. I think it's $14.95 a month. But, you know, I'm not a massive fan of subscription services. I think, you know, there's been so many kind of shady ones in the past. It always kind of leaves a bit of a sort of bitter taste in your mouth. But I thoroughly endorse these guys. They're fantastic. Have a look check them out, because you will learn so much. You'll get to try so many new and exciting fragrances. I can't say enough good things about them. So Drop the Hoohaa is their kind of marketing name, but I think the company's actually just called Hoohaa, as it says on there. So before I get too sidetracked, just check these guys out. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 from Tesoro. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is called Herbes, or Herbs. Herbes. I think Herbes seems to sound better, but it might be Herbs. And here we have a real blast of the Mediterranean. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. If we look at the notes first, that's a pretty good place to start. We have lemon, we have orange, we have spearmint, we have star anise, we have orange flower, we have a little bit of tuberose, some mimosa, some sandalwood, some cedarwood, and some musks. So what you have is something completely unique. I'm going to spray a little bit on my hand now, just for a treat. So I'm gonna have to have my 3rd shower of the day straight after this video, so I can wear a little bit of everything. And it's just this gorgeous infusion. It was actually inspired by a Mallorcan liqueur. That's where the idea from this fragrance comes from. And although there's no booze in it, it's not a particular, you know, it's not a boozy fragrance at all. But it's just so refreshing and uplifting, and there's depth to it. The little bit of like spearmint just kind of plays a little trick with your nose, so the mint kind of just sort of adds to this uplifting vibe. But the 2 citruses that dominate, the orange and the lemon, are beautifully paired. Neither over dominates the other. They just sit there. And then the star anise gives it a slightly herbal, it's more of a herbal angle than a spicy angle, which is quite interesting, because it, you know, you think of star anise as sort of in the same kind of world as cinnamon and things like that. So you think of it almost like a heavier, dry aromatic, but it's not. It's everything about this is light. Now, it's not sort of airy-fairy and floaty. You know, it's anchored well to your skin. I think the sandalwood and the cedar and the base kind of help it come together. The musk lifts everything up beautifully. And if you're not a fan of tuberose, don't worry, because it's such a little bit player. There's so many materials used in this fragrance. It just, putting them all together. And the perfumer, I think her name is Maria Urban Lefebvre, or Lefebvre. And she's amazing. She's a magician. She's not a nose. She is a magician because she's managed to knit together so many materials to just make this seamless, flawless blend, which is a delight. It's a beautiful, beautiful perfume. And it's one that when it hits your skin, you just can't help but grin. You just know that you smell amazing. It's gorgeous. Now, both of these fragrances are quite long lasting. Neither of them are beast mode, okay? So they're not like belting out or anything like that. These are very artistic and beautiful fragrances, and I cannot recommend them highly enough. They're around the €160 price tag, so it's probably about, what, £140 or something like that. So it puts them straight in the middle of sort of the niche pricing category. But my gosh, they're so unique and so beautiful. I highly, highly recommend them. This one is such an original fragrance. It's just outstanding. There's something almost fizzy about it. It's glorious stuff. I really, really cannot say enough good things about it. If you just want to smell fresh, interesting, and completely different to anybody else, then Herbes is phenomenal. Next up, we'll have a look at Tesoro. This is another freshie. Obviously, that's why we're doing this video. So I'm going to spray a little bit on this wrist so you can watch my gleeful face. And this is gorgeous. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at the notes here, because these, you know, both freshies, both from the same house, both from the same perfumer, but incredibly different fragrances. So Tesoro, you have bergamot, you have grapefruit, you have a bitter orange, and you have some petitgrain, you have jasmine, you have some pink pepper, some vetiver, leather note, and white musks. So this is, in some respects, if you really wanted to oversimplify things, you could say that this is a fruity, leathery, musky fragrance. And that would only be telling half the story, because what they've managed to do is take all these relatively sort of obscure materials. When I say obscure, I mean to put them all together is quite an obscure thing to do. To create something that's light, clean, refreshing, but solid. There's a gain, there's a base to it, there's an airiness around the perfume. It's beautiful. This one less sort of out there than this one. Herbes is very, very, wow, I've never smelled anything like that before. Whereas Tesoro, nothing smells exactly like it, don't get me wrong. You will smell it and you won't smell, oh God, that really reminds me of that. But when you wear it, you'll start to think, I think this kind of reminds me of something, but you'll never know exactly what. So it is an original perfume. Please don't, I'm not trying to lead you down the wrong road with this one. It's beautiful, but it's a little bit more familiar, should we say. Really, really long lasting, this one. Again, it's polite. There's nothing vulgar about these two, okay? They're not screeching and they're not look at me kind of fragrances. These are refined, very refined, sorry. Sort of almost gentlemanly like. I mean, they are completely unisex. Both would smell amazing on a woman, but this one, I think, because of the leatheriness, which is soft and it's not overpowering, and you can wear this on a hot day. Do not worry about the leather. It just adds something to the perfume. It doesn't dominate and it doesn't take over or anything like that. And I'm going to open up the big bag of cliches. Both of these fragrances are walking around on a spring or summer's morning in the Mediterranean. Both of them will transport you there. They're fantastic fragrances for doing that. But they're both gorgeous. You could wear either of them any situation. You could wear them to work. You could wear them out for a meal. You could wear them to a pot gala dinner. You could wear them, to the pub. Basically, they're fantastic, modern, beautiful perfumes. I can't say enough good things about Tesoro as a house. As I say, there is another one called Tram, which is a kind of a chocolatey patchouli-like fragrance, which is going to be an absolute killer for the winter. So hopefully, I will save up my pennies and try and grab a bottle of that, and then we can come back and do a review on that one when I eventually get it, which will probably be kind of autumn time, because it's going to be an absolutely fantastic fragrance for the autumn. So to close on this particular section of the video, Herbes Tesoro from Tesoro. Absolutely phenomenal fragrances and highly, highly recommended. Okay, now another house that I didn't really know too much about until fairly recently, and we've got two from them to have a quick look at as well. So these two are from the Italian house called Carthusia, and this is the first one. and this is the second one. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at this one first, which is called Amare, I believe. Or Amare. My friend Dragan, who was on holiday in Sicily recently, purchased this one and messaged me and said, "You've got to get it." Simple as that. This is a fantastic fragrance. And then he sent me this long voicemail on how to pronounce it. And I've completely forgotten. So I think it's pronounced Amare. Or Amare, or Amara. I think it's a Sicilian word for sea, but there you go. Anyway, this is a fragrance which is an aquatic-like fragrance, but it's like no aquatic I've tried before. It's also up for an olfactory award this year, and it really, really deserves it. It's beautiful. If we look at the notes, they're quite out there as well. We have salt, we have rosemary, we have bergamot, you have water notes, you have mint again, you have guaiac wood, you have cedar, you have musk, and you have patchouli. What a fantastic fragrance this is. Now, my friend Dragan described this as your skin after a day at the beach, and I totally and utterly get that. It's glorious, and when you wear this, it's just such a beautiful fragrance. I'm going to put a little bit on this part of me now, and it's just fantastic. It's very calming. It's very soothing. This kind of salty herbalness with the bergamot is what you'll get straight away. There's just this freshness that's there, but it's not like screechy fresh. There's almost a creaminess that creeps into it. And I think it's the rosemary gives this kind of almost like a minty note. I mean, there is mint in here, but I think sometimes rosemary can come across as a little menthol, especially, you know, if you break the herb down. And I think that's what's happened here. But it's just perfect. And then you've got this saltiness, these water notes. So it's not like sea spray or anything like that. It's almost like you can, you know, when you stand by the sea has a certain smell to it. And I'm not talking about, you know, the bogging seaweed sort of stuff. There's just that freshness, that weird kind of, almost like you can smell spray. I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but that's kind of what you get. And then there's a woody base to it. There's some cedar. There's lots of musk in here, which help carry it. Performance-wise, this goes on all day. It's really rather strong, but what it does is it doesn't particularly project massively, but what it does do is it just puts you in this absolute bubble of contentment. It's beautiful stuff. Really, really easy to wear. I can't think of anywhere I wouldn't wear this. I think it's glorious, absolutely glorious. On a hot day, this is soothing. This would be a perfect one for kind of, you know, table hopping or bar hopping. You know, like when you're on a holiday and you're sort of walking, you know, through the streets of some beautiful fishing village, and you're stopping here for coffee and there for a beer, here for a sandwich or something like that. That's exactly where I can imagine wearing this. This would be fantastic. I mean, the house is Italian, but this kind of just reminds me of being in Portugal and, you know, Lagos and back streets and sea smells and stuff like that. Absolutely glorious. Look at the bottle. It's beautiful. Absolutely stunning. And the best bit, this can be yours, this 50ml bottle, for around £60. Really, 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 really affordable. And just everything about it is perfection. It's dreamy, it's glorious, it's comforting. And, you know, sometimes when, you know, we talk about fresh fragrances, because it has got that freshness, comforting's not really what you expect. You know, comforting you kind of almost, you know, associate with winter fragrances and things like that. But it's glorious. It just helps keep you cool, fresh, and rather lovely. There's a zinginess in here as well, which I absolutely love. Now, as I say, this is called Amare, and talking of zinginess, we're going to look at another one now from the same house, around the same cost as well. And this has got to be the zingiest fragrance I think I've ever tried. Now, you're going to have to bear with me when it comes to the name of this one, because it's a bloody nightmare for my appalling language skills. So this one is called PRIMA del Teatro di San Carlo. Yeah, there you go. So what's this about then? Well, this is absolutely mind-blowing. I've never experienced a fragrance like it. I have talked about Rose Gold by Ormond Jane, which I have before, which I think is like a rose oud you could wear in the summer, and this is like that. This is a rose oud like nothing else I've ever smelt before. In fact, it's just an absolute bomb. If I spray a bit there, this is incredibly potent fragrance. It's absolutely, it just blasts you. So you've got mint again, you have bergamot, you have woodsy notes, you have cedar, you have rose, you have ambergris, you have oud, and you have white musk. And this is electric. It absolutely leaps off your skin. This minty bergamot, which doesn't actually come across as bergamot, it's all synthesized together. It's just, it explodes. It is like electricity coming off your skin on a hot day. This just belts out. You've got to be very, very careful with the sprays. I wouldn't go too heavy with it. It just sprays out everywhere. And then the woods there's an incense in here as well, which I don't think is listed in the notes, but it's not smoky, but it's really, really, it's a bit like Tower's Incense Rose in that respect. But if you could imagine Tower's Incense Rose surrounded by bright, shiny, punchy citruses that just leap about, you'll be halfway there. The fact that you can get this for around £60 absolutely blows my mind. This is such an affordable fragrance. I mean, the presentation's good. I like the bottle. I'm not a massive fan of the cat, I'll be honest with you. It's quite lightweight, but for the money, it's pretty bloody good. It comes in a wonderful box. In fact, they all come in, all of these come in beautiful boxes. But this is fabulous stuff. If you like a rose oud, but you want one for a hot day, yes, yes, yes. With regards to the oud just seems to accentuate the woodsy notes. It's not a skanky oud. There's nothing funky about it. It doesn't smell like horse dung or a manure or blue cheese or a doctor's surgery or anything like that. It just adds something. It's almost like it kind of attaches itself to this sort of incensey note that flies through the life of the perfume. But yeah, really long lasting, incredibly strong, perfect, absolute bargain. A wonderful, wonderful fragrance. Highly recommended. Okay, so that was 2 from Carthusia. Now we're on to the 5th one. Okay, so this is another new one that I haven't heard much about before. And this is a company that actually reached out to me, and they're called The Gate. And here it is. This is called First Sight. Now, this is a French sort of Arabic house. I think the company's based in Dubai with a French perfumer. And this is called, as I say, First Sight. There's a bottle, Gold Affair, very heavy. Comes in an awesome box. It opens out. It's beautiful stuff. Another minty one. But this is beautiful. It's so different. My wife loves this one. I love this one equally. You have, if we look at the notes, you have a mint, you have citruses, you have green leaves, you have pear, you have sorbet, you have lemonade, you have some sage, you have some cedar, and you have lots and lots of musk. And there's some cedar in here as well. But what you get is this bright, effervescent, shiny, fizzy, almost like a peachy lemonade that comes out, and there's a mintiness to it. So you have this very, very, not overly sweet, but quite sweet, sparkling perfume that's just, it leaps off your skin. This would be a really, really good one for a big night out. This is kind of like quite a grand fragrance. It's, you know, if you're going to a wedding reception or something like that, somewhere hot where you're quite dressy, this is going to be a fantastic fragrance. It's pretty potent, it's long lasting, it's very airy, so people will notice you, especially in the first couple of hours. I don't know much about the perfumer here, but this is a beautifully made fragrance. It is an expensive one. I think this is around €200 a bottle, but it's a 100ml bottle. It's just got this wonderful green freshness to it, but because of the lemonade to it and this sort of sorbet-like thing, so it's ice cold, and it does feel cold on your skin as well. So if we give it a little spray there, it just lifts off the skin straight away, and you've got this minty freshness with sweetness underneath it, and then there's fruits and citruses, and oh, it's glorious. Really rather glamorous, actually. I mean, I think it is slightly more feminine leaning, but I think it's fantastic on me. I love it. It's beautiful stuff. So yeah, look out for this one. Highly recommended. And that's called First Sight by The Gate. I think they are in Javoy, so you can sample them actually, because Javoy do a sample service. So contact Javoy if you wanna sample it. It is an expensive fragrance, as I said earlier, so it's well worth sampling first. I'd hate to sort of recommend blind buying anything, to be honest. But because of the cost involved with this one, it's definitely one you're going to need to sample. But I love it. It's really well made. It's completely different to anything else in my collection. And it's just, yeah, it's good fun. It's a really, really nice, fresh, zingy, bubbly fragrance that will help you smell rather sophisticated on a warm evening. And the last one on the alternative freshies list is this brute of a bottle. and this is from Hakel's, and this is called Pegwell Bay. But it's actually not. It's known as Pegwell Bay, but the actual name of the perfume is a sort of a map reference grid, which is printed on the bottle, if you can see it there. I'm not sure if you can. This comes in a stunning box as well, by the way. The packaging is fantastic, and it comes with like a 7.5ml bottle of the fragrance as well. So this has got quite the reputation. It is particularly coveted amongst sort of the British fragrance community, but you don't hear much of it outside that. I think it was the wafts from the lofts that really kind of put everybody onto these guys. Hakel's are a company based down in Kent. They're in Margate. It's a part of the world I know very, very well. They do lots of stuff other than perfumes, just sort of skincare and candles, I think, and that sort of stuff. So check out the website, because it might not just be perfume that you're interested that these guys do. I've been after this for a long time. A bottle came up at the right price, and I pounced on it. Now, Pegwell Bay as a perfume is an expensive one. I think this is a 100ml bottle. It's an extrait de parfum, and it comes in at around £160. So not a cheapie, but it is a very, very goodie. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this bottle, I have to say. It's unique and it's heavy as, but I just don't like it. In all honesty, it's not kind of for me. It's got Hakel's written on the top of the brass cap, and this cap it's unwieldy. When I try and take a photo of it, it always seems to be bent or looking at the wrong angle. I feel like I'm going to break something when I take it off, because this does weigh a ton. The bottle itself isn't too heavy, but this really, really heavy brass cap, which they obviously should be very proud of. It's completely unique. I don't like the look of it or the feel of it too much. It's too unwieldy. But the bottle itself is fine. The perfume inside is magnificent. I'm running out of skin, but I'm going to spray a little bit now. There you go. And what we'll do now is we'll have a look at the notes, and then we'll talk a little bit about the perfume. So on the top you have celery seed, you have black pepper, you have star anise, you have bitter orange, you have mint. Have you noticed a theme here? You have juniper, you have juniper berries, you have lemon, you have lavender, you have fennel. You've got everything in here but the kitchen sink, and it does work so, so well. You've got bergamot, you've got fir resin, you've got garlic wood, you've got vetiver, you've got patchouli, all sorts of stuff. And there's a weird African floral in here as well, which I've never come across. I think it's called buchu. But it's fantastic. This is a real herbal freshie, and it really, really is a herbal freshie. It often gets compared to Aventus, and I think that's there is a fruitiness that kind of does remind me a little bit of Aventus. But for me, it's much more similar to Byredo's Eau de Mortel. I think it's like a less sweet opening. If you put and I have the Byredo, if you do them side by side, you'll notice that the limoncello from the Byredo Eau de Mortel is much, much sweeter than this. This is a lot deeper and more of almost like a resinous fruit. It's quite difficult to explain, but the performance on Pegwell Bay is amazing. It lasts and lasts and lasts. Whatever the weather, it will just keep on motoring on. Really, really good stuff. Very masculine. It's a high quality masculine fragrance that's completely unique. It's meant to give an olfactory representation of Pegwell Bay, which is a little bay slightly further down from Margate, where the company's based. Now, I've been to Pegwell Bay many, many, many times. We've got friends that live just around the corner, and we stay down there all the time. So does it remind me of walking around Pegwell Bay? No, not in the slightest. I don't get that at all. A lot of people do, however. But when I've walked around Pegwell Bay, I haven't walked around Pegwell Bay wearing the perfume yet, but I'm certainly going to do that this year. So I will report back and let you know how it goes. This to me is just this beautiful herbal freshie that's very masculine and very interesting. There's nothing quite like it. People will say that it is similar to Aventus. I don't think it, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it is. It is more in the line of the Byredo's Eau de Mortel. But I think this is totally unique. It's much more herbal than any of the other perfumes that it's accused of smelling like. And I don't think they set out to achieve something that smells like other fragrances. When you're blending that many sort of off-the-wall herbs and things like that, if you wanted to clone something, you would set out a lot easier way to do it. So what they have is this unique herbal aromatic fragrance that's just... it's glorious. So it's really, really highly recommended, especially if you're looking for something that's completely different to a lot of fragrances in that world. If you want something with aromatics and herbs, something quite earthy as well, but still got that airiness, it's still got that freshness, then Pegwell Bay will be a really, really good choice for you. It's a beautiful perfume, and you'll certainly, when it comes to performance, you're getting your money's worth. This bottle's going to last me forever. It just does not stop going on and on and on in a really good way. So there you have it, Pegwell Bay from Hakel's down in the Kent seaside. So check these guys out. They do 7.5 ml bottles as well, so like a big sample effectively, and I think they're really reasonable. They're about £15 for your 7.5 ml. So you know, order them. There's a few more in the collection that I really want to try too. I'm so impressed with Pegwell Bay. I absolutely adore it. So have a look on the Hakel's website, or Hakel's website, and order yourself some 7.5 mils so you can get to try them out before you commit to the bigger bottle. So there we have it. So we've got some alternative freshies, and hopefully for some houses that you don't know too much about. So you've got stuff to go and explore and enjoy. Well, listen, as always, thank you very much for your time, and we shall see you on the next video. Cheers, thanks, and bye.